What year are you? What year are you?
13.
Okay, I wanted to confirm. You're 13. Now, when you think about playing in the NFL, when it stands for not for long and what you've been able to do in 13 years, how do you look at your career? Like in terms of its legacy?
Um, I think the longevity of it is at the forefront. Um, it's when I came into the league, it was a little more common to have guys play 10 or plus years. But since, the game has gotten younger, it's cheaper for younger players. So now to get to a decade in the NFL is tough, especially when you're dealing with injuries. And so really, playing 13 years, that means that one, I'm talented enough to still be in this league. But
That's
two,
right.
yeah, I've stayed healthy enough to stay in it. And so I think, those are the two things that stand out just when you see 13. But I also think when you turn on the tape over those 13 years, there's been a lot of plays made, a lot of things accomplished.
A lot of plays made and a lot of things accomplished. What you've been able to do, what I noticed outside of, and to me, people sometimes don't take their platform and transition in a way in which it makes sense or a way in which it is effective. When did you know, because this wasn't an overnight deal, that you were going to take Malcolm Jenkins, the football player, the guy who made it to the pros, the player who in fact is a leader without having to wear it on his shirt every single day? How did you know that you were going to use this platform in the way in which you're using it now? Did it all just happen overnight, or was this a part of the original plan?
No, I think it didn't start to work in the way that we kind of see it now until I decided that the old way wasn't working for me. So, I was athletes most of the time get put on a conveyor belt, right? And you do what the hundreds of athletes have done before you. You show up on time, you do your job, you collect your check, you go home, you don't disrupt things. And it wasn't until the Saints let me go the first time and then I became a free agent. And I had to like really think, okay, long term, am I good? Like, do financially, my legacy, all of these things, you have to really deal with, and you start to realize that the money that we make as NFL players does not create generational wealth. So it was like I wasn't financially where I wanted to be, or even stable enough to retire, at the age of 25. Hadn't really accomplished much, that I could put on my legacy that I wanted to put my name on. I had started my foundation and stuff, and that stuff was great. But it was really like, okay, well, what do I want to be? And if when I got to the Eagles, it was like, okay, this might be my last contract. If I'm gonna go out here, I want to be authentically 100% myself. And so, getting back to the East Coast, getting back around my family, back around my friends, just allowed me to start to think differently. And as opportunities started to come, it just made sense that I was really prepared for a lot of those situations that came, whether it be the social justice kind of situations going on in the NFL, my own businesses, all of those had really those things fell into place once I changed my mind and decided, okay, I'm going to walk authentically and like whoever I am, from here on out.
Are you saying that when you got cut from the Saints, that was the best thing that could have happened in terms of your
I think it.
trajectory?
I think it was the best thing that happened for me on the field and off the field. It was one of those things on the field. I got to a team that really, I think, valued specifically my skill set and put me in position to really. That's when my career really took off
Hmm.
on the field. It was a bigger media market. Philadelphia is one of the biggest media markets in the country,
Very
whereas
familiar.
New Orleans is a little bit, a little bit smaller. Things go under the radar here. And Philly is just platform is elevated. Um, and then again, I think being around the support that I got, being in that city, and just at that time was ripe for then, all of the things that have happened off the field with my name.
I think it's interesting that you say that because you, to me, sound so wise. You're like, this money isn't generational wealth, right? It doesn't change. It doesn't change anything if you don't know how to use it correctly. So, what did you learn in terms of money? I often hear, even old school players tell me. I remember, working with some guys, and they'd be like, "Man, those checks when the season hit was the best thing ever. Now you just miss them, and you think, well, what you doing with the money? What did you do with the money? How did you learn, or how long did it take you to learn that I need to really start using my money differently?"
Yeah, it was that very moment. I just did some simple math, right? probably 25, 26 years old. And I'm like, okay, I've got $5 million in the bank. Most like growing up, somebody told me I was gonna have $5 million in the bank. I'm like, I'm set for life. And you start to realize, okay, well, I don't have to, the what people used to say is like, you never have to work a day in your life, right? And you start to think, well, I'm only 25. Mhm. So for the rest of my life, what am I like? What budget would I need to keep in order to make that 5 million stretch?
Mm.
And it's like you got to live at like $250,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I got kids,
Yeah.
and I'm about like
And
that's
you're used
that's
to a certain lifestyle by now, right? So you're
yeah,
like,
that's not the lifestyle, yeah,
yeah,
that I want.
yeah, yeah.
That's not the life. So that's not gonna work. I like that, and then so the more you hike your budget up, the shorter lifespan that has, and you start to realize that people who make money, who have those generational wealth, they aren't living off of what they acquired through labor. They take what they do in labor and then they flip it. And so so players like you said, when they retire, you hear them say the same stuff. I miss those checks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like the solution then isn't to try to play football for as long as you can. The solution, right, is to figure out how to get those kind of
Yeah.
checks to come
Yeah.
in,
You can't play
and that
football
takes
forever, guys. This just in.
exactly. So it's like that changed my mind. And honestly, one of my best friends, who's now the CFO of my entire kind of business operation, really sat down. She's a auditor by trade, so she just business and numbers is her thing. And I remember sitting down in my living room, and she told me one day, "You're going to make more money. I'm going to make you more money off the field in
Mm.
business than you've ever made on the field." And I laughed in her
Wow.
face because this is before I could really like even fathom something like that. And now it's to the point where we're doing those things, and you're starting to see those things come to fruition, and how you can actually create generational wealth now by using the talent that we
Mm-hmm.
have, this capital that we're able to accumulate really really quick. It's like, well, then how do you flip that into something much larger that lasts more, way beyond just you and your immediate family, but your entire ecosystem.
Joining the podcast, guys, on Naked. Malcolm Jenkins is giving us the full education on business. So we're not talking about the football player, but yes, football is the conduit, if you will, the platform. Take us to business school. What are you working on, or what have you been working on, more appropriately, that you feel like you can share, like not only in the locker room but with folks
Yeah.
who want to be a part of a world where they are making money and affecting change.
Yeah, I think everything that I've learned in business and investing, I'm trying to take that education, not only give it to my peers, but then I'm rolling it up into my foundation's efforts to make sure financial literacy and things like that are getting to our children younger. So from a foundation standpoint, we have, like I said, financial literacy programs. We've opened 1,000 bank accounts for children in multiple cities that I lived in, knowing that starting savings accounts early on, you know, is like 6 times more likely that they'll be investors by the age of 25 and X, Y, and Z.